Hey, everybody, I'm Kurt Loosenort with Smallegan Real Estate, and I'm here today with Chris Palusky, CEO of Mel Trotter in Grand Rapids. And I just want to learn more about what Mel Trotter is doing, what you're doing here, and what you provide to the city.
Sure.
So, actually, looking into this, little backstory though, I found out Mel Trotter was a real person.
Oh, yeah.
You tell us just a little bit about who he was and why this is Mel Trotter Mission.
So Mel Trotter Ministries started off 125 years ago with a guy named Mel Trotter. It was started by Mel Trotter. He was asked to come from the mission in Chicago to start a mission up here. He was actually an alcoholic. He was about to kill himself, walk off the bridge into Lake Michigan. Somebody pulled him off of that, brought him into the mission, shared the good news with him, and it changed his life. And so a couple of years later, they said, would you go up and start something in Grand Rapids, which is right up the street? And so he did. So he started off a soup kitchen. So 125 years ago, we started off as a soup kitchen. And now I think it's Maya Angelou or somebody who says, you want to learn better, so you do better. And we've really, I think, become a really state-of-the-art, great organization, helping people to not experience homelessness, so stay out of homelessness with diversion prevention. We run a great shelter. We've got medical care. We've got 550 beds. We take care of families. We have people who are in our workforce development. We've got emergency shelter. We've got a day center. We've got a workforce development arm, which is next step of West Michigan. That's part of Mel Trotter. We teach people how to build houses from the ground up. We teach people how to work in retail with our 8 thrift stores. We teach people how to work in restaurants. We teach them the hard skills, the soft skills. So basically, we've grown from a soup kitchen to an organization that helps people to not become homeless, to provide them excellent care if they do become homeless, but we don't want them to have to stay here. So we try to launch them. And everything is undergirded by our faith. So we want to invite the Big C Church to come in and be the hands and feet of Christ to our guests and also the people that work here. I say we're the gritty Christians on the front line serving some of the people who are the most vulnerable that are going through a really difficult time.
That's huge. I mean, starting from such a very real, tangible, personal story of redemption. Mel Trotter was a man, a person who struggled in the same way, who was then able to be a part of founding something to meet the needs of so many people today. In large part, what brought you here was understanding that it's so much more than just a shelter.
In fact, even during the interview, they said, what's interesting? I said, there's so much more. And they're like, what do you mean by that? I said, well, I was talking with a friend of mine. I'd been working with a group called World Vision over in Ukraine. We're doing great programs in Romania, Moldova, Ukraine, Republic of Georgia. And we were looking to come back to the States. We're actually on our way over to Portland. And a friend said, hey, Mel Trotter's looking for a CEO. And I said, isn't it that shelter? And I'm sure I said it just like that, which I regret to this day. He said, there's so much more look into it. And that's when I found out about the diversion, the prevention, the shelter, the medical care, the day center, the rooms, the church involvement, the workforce, the whole thing. There was so much more. And I thought, well, that's really complicated. That sounds really interesting. And I think we're not just looking at putting a Band-Aid on things, but we're looking at helping people with their state of life, being, is it a job? Is it finding housing? But also it's the spiritual side too. So we believe that it's the physical side and the spiritual side that we want to help people with.
And it's complex because people's situations are complex. No one is struggling for just one reason or another, and being able to provide for whatever their needs happen to be is the reason you have this multi-pronged approach, why you have so many options and different ways to meet them in their need.
People in general are just complicated. So
I
was talking with a partner donor, and I've known this person for years. And he said, come on, Chris, it's not rocket science. And I said, I'm going to disagree with you. So hear me out. I said, so first of all, we're dealing with people. People are complicated and people have complex issues. And then, we try to keep people out of shelter. So, is that paying 1 month's rent? Is it negotiating with a landlord? Is it finding childcare? Is it all of these things? And then you get people in shelter. You got some people who are really motivated to get out. They're like, maybe they hit a speed bump in life and they're like, I just needed something very short I've got skills. I want to get out of this. But then you have people who have mental health care issues, or you have addiction issues. It gets complicated. And then we partner with other organizations for families. Family Promise, we partner with them in this building. They do the case management. Then you get families, and families are a whole set of other kind of complications. So, and then I said, so we try to launch them in a job that they can stay at, that they'll be able to afford housing, and to help them to launch out of here. And I said, it's complicated. So I said, I think it's a lot more like rocket science than it's not. And he goes, okay, I'll agree with you on this one. So yeah.
I had to think about this, but there's the preventative, there's the shelter, there's the launching. So overall, there's really like 3 different major approaches to how you're helping people where they are.
So I would even say there's a lot more.
Sure.
It's, we're part of an ecosystem. And so with the diversion and prevention, we have partners that we work with to try to keep people from becoming homeless, especially with a lot of churches. So we can provide some funding, but we try to link them with a church so that the churches can either help with additional funding to pay for rent, or maybe even help to adopt a family that's facing homelessness and help them through some of the tougher issues. Within the shelter here, so you've got the shelter, you've got the people who are in families, you've got the people who are in our track programs or our workforce development, and then you've got the third one, which is emergency shelter people. And emergency shelter people, a lot of them are just like, I'm just fine right here, or they're just kind of going through life. And then you've got the third component, which is the workforce development of Next Step of West Michigan. And then you've got the funding models. So we're reliant on different funding models. So we need donations from the community. And the community is great supporting the work that we do. We definitely need them. But we're also looking at how we can become more sustainable. So we have 8 thrift stores. So we just opened our 8th thrift store yesterday in Caledonia. And all the revenue from that, all the profit from that, helps to pay for meals, for case managers, for beds, for the heating costs of the building. We also go after grants. We have to go after different types of funds that are out there so that we can cobble these things together so that we can keep people from becoming homeless, give them great services if they do, and help them to launch into a good life.
I think Next Step is particularly interesting to me just because I think it's such a great way to do exactly that, to say, all right, where do we go from here? How do we get someone, like you said, launched, independent, providing, growing? And I think that's fundamentally the right approach. I think it's incredibly interesting the way that it's set up, but also one of my best friends was the director of development for Next Step for years when it was still independent.
Cool.
And as a side note, this is just for us, but I know that he did that for years, and then he was going to leave and start his own construction business. And he felt that was right for him, but he was very concerned about then what was going to happen at Next Step, knowing God was responsible, but still feeling like this was part of something that he had helped to grow.
That's awesome.
And he was very happy when Mel Trotter, took over Next Step.
It's really the next step, isn't it? It's like, I say it's MTM's next step, Mel Trotter Ministries' next step. It's especially for those people that are like, I just need help getting out of this. So some people, you know what? The poor will always be with us. And you know what? Bless them. We want to make sure they have good services. For about a third of our guests, they're like, help me to get out of this as fast as possible. And Next Step is such a great avenue. So we teach people to build houses from the ground up. In fact, we're just finishing up our 10th tiny home. Love to show you around there sometime.
Yeah.
And we build other houses from the ground up. So regular size houses. We've built transitional houses, but we use our guests that are going through our workforce development, teach them how to build it. Back to Chris Kringle Village, we built that too with the help of our guests.
We were just down there.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know the connection. I didn't know that was set up with part of Next Step.
Yep. They helped to build all that, and we're expanding on that. So we want to teach people and give them the right skills. And not only the hard skills, so teaching people, how to frame in a building or this or that, but also the soft skills, like how do you pay a bill? How do you show up to work on time? How do you deal with somebody who's difficult at work and not punch them in the nose?
Right.
I mean, so we're dealing with the physical, the spiritual, the hard skills, the soft skills. We also teach people how to work in a restaurant. We've got a cafeteria here. We feed around 600 people a day. And we have internships, paid internships, where people are learning how to work in restaurants. We have people that have been working in our thrift store, so they're doing internships, paid internships, working how to work retail. And then also we have city services and other avenues too, where people are learning how to hold a job, save money, budget, and launch into a successful life.
Equipping and providing opportunity.
Absolutely.
What are the mission, vision, and values of Mel Trotter?
So I'll start off with our mission. We are here to share the love and compassion of Jesus with anybody facing hunger or homelessness. And so how does that look? Well, I always say we are gritty Christians serving on the front line, and our values, in fact, we're just in the process of redoing our values, got them approved by the board. So first of all, as employees and people that are working here with people who are going through a difficult time, we want to show dignity. So I think it's easy for people to look down on people who are going through a rough time and be like, get a job or pull yourself up. You know what? People are complex. So we want to show dignity to people who are going through a tough time. We want to share the love and compassion of Jesus with them. We want to encourage the community to be connected to the faith community, meaning that we want to invite the church to be in here. So we don't require people to go to chapel. We don't require these different things, but we want to invite churches in. So, you know what? If somebody wants to go to chapel, they can go to chapel. Or with a lot of our families, we encourage like a church to adopt a family. Like, you know what? If they're going to move into an apartment, maybe they help with the furniture. Maybe they help with getting to an appointment. Maybe they help with childcare, so that there is that connection. And then our third one, which is my favorite one, we're a group of gritty Christians. So it's not clean, pretty work. It's not, because people are complex. There's a lot of addiction. There's a lot of tough situations. So I don't think it's for the lighthearted. So one of our values is we are gritty Christians. We are serving on the front line. And I believe that God is using us that way. Be humbly confident is our fourth one. And so I think as Christians, I've seen in different ministries and different things, people want to do something good, and that's nice and good. I think we need to be the best. And I think we need to make impact on people's lives and be able to prove that. I think as Christians, especially as Christians, we need to be humble about our approaches, but we need to be confident in who we are and how we're doing it. And then we have to pursue excellence within the organization. In fact, we should expect excellence. Again, I think we should not only give great services, but the best services, because we are Christians providing that. I don't think it's a write-off of we want to do something nice and good. I think we need to be technically sound, being able to prove the outputs, the outcomes, and then the longer term impact. Like, I want to be able to prove the work that we're doing is reducing homelessness by 50% in Grand Rapids over the next 5 years. I want to be able to prove this empirically, that we're doing this work well and we're using the best ways to do that. So these are our values.
Love that. And I was going to ask a little bit about, in a situation like this, balancing compassion and strategy, but I feel like you just covered that pretty well. Like, that's a big point. What are a couple things that you think people from the outside looking in get wrong? Or what are a few things that you just wish people understood more about the problems that you're working on and the people that you're working with?
Well, I think people are people, right? So people are complicated. I think with people experiencing homelessness or near the edge, I think there's sometimes a misunderstanding that, well, you just need to work harder. Or you just need to, pull yourself up. Sometimes. But also, I think that's where we need to help people to help themselves. Where, you know what? Again, it goes to diversion prevention. Maybe we need to help to pay that 1 month's rent. Maybe we need to, for a short period of time, have people in a shelter and give them excellent services. Or maybe we need to help them to launch and give them the right skills and the training to do that. But also, sometimes that's not even true. Like, I've got older guests here. When I came on board, I found out there were older guests that had been living here 10 years plus in the shelter. I'm like, that's not right. But these were older guys with wheelchairs, people who had fallen through the cracks. So we're working with groups like Baruch Ministries to get them into retirement communities where they can live their best lives. So it's not because they didn't want to pull themselves up. It was because they kind of fell through the cracks, and they were these older guys, and some were veterans. Some of them were people who had just had a difficult life, and they had no idea. Some of them had mental health issues. But we're working with different organizations, especially faith organizations, so that people can live their best lives. And I think to paint with a broad brushstroke and say all the homeless, they're just people who are asking for $1. I don't think that's right. Some are. It's interesting. I know a lot of them around here, and people say, hey, I'm really hungry. Can I have $1? And I'll say, no, but I'll tell you what. If you go down to Mel Trotter, I just had the tuna sandwich for lunch. It's really good. Go around the back. And in fact, we have bag lunches. Tell them Chris sent you, and we'll give you a bag lunch free. And some people were like, okay, thanks. But some people are like, oh, yeah, okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yep. And we won't always know the difference in the moment. We won't always know the difference on the surface, but that's why Mel Trotter is here, to find out which needs can be met and to meet them, like you said, with excellence.
We should be the best in sharing the love and compassion of Jesus with anybody facing hunger or homelessness.
And see the measurable positive impact of the work that you're doing in the city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So not just, again, it goes not just making sure somebody's got a good night's sleep in one place, which I think they'll get excellent sleep here, but also how are we helping them to live their best lives and show that impact? And I think that's the big thing. And that's the direction we want to go. So we want to provide not just great meals, and I think we do. I think provide good places to sleep, but we want to help people to live their absolute best lives, their physical and their spiritual life.
Do you have a couple of moments or stories that continue to inspire you or motivate you even when things get hard?
Actually, there's a couple great stories. So 2 of them that come to mind. So there was a guy, and he didn't want to come into shelter because people don't like to live by rules sometimes. And they're like, I want to live out there. There was a guy literally living in a planter all last winter. I'd pass him every single day. I got to know him. And there was a couple times where I thought, he's got to be dead. I mean, he was living underneath a plastic sheet and then some blankets on top of that. Again, it's so cold out. And he wouldn't come into shelter. But so I'd poke underneath the plastic sheeting, and he'd usually say a couple curse words, and then he'd pop his head out and be like, oh, Chris, can you get me a mocha? And I'd get him a mocha from the coffee shop down the street, and we worked with him with our outreach team, and they really helped to identify a place for him to live, to help with some of his challenges that he had. And he came, and I saw him 2 months ago. Actually, it was a month ago. And I said, what are you doing back down here? I thought he had gotten a place. He said, no, I came to see you. And I was like, really? Why? He said, I want to show you my keys to my apartment. And I'm living up there, and he's got a place not too far from here. He's like, you know what? The nuns have actually adopted me. There's nuns around there. He's like, they're great. I love them. They've been cooking for me. And so I would say there is success. He lost 2 of his toes last year due to frostbite. Another guy I met over here, he was a former prisoner, and he had a very difficult youth. He was in jail for murder. So he told me, when I first met him, I said, hey, what's your name? He told me his name. And he said, yeah, today's my first day out. And I was like, first day out? And he goes, yeah, prison or jail or prison. I said, oh, what are you in for? And he said, murder. I was like, okay, wow. Okay. How do you respond to that? So I was thinking, okay, Lord, what's going on? He said, yeah, I've really want to get my life in order. So he plugged into our programs. He plugged in with a church. He plugged in. We got him a job. We helped him to get transportation. And I saw him maybe about a month ago. I rolled down my window because I saw him on the street, and I was like, hey. And he goes, Chris, what are you doing? I said, I'm heading home. What are you doing? He said, I'm heading home. Got a job now. I've been doing, and he told me basically how he was succeeding. And not only with a job, but he said, you know what? I love Jesus, Chris. And he was going on about, I was like, this is awesome, the physical and the spiritual. So it's those things that keep you going. Because I'll tell you what, it's gritty work. And there are a lot of challenges, but I do believe that God has called us for this time to be his hands and feet in this area in Grand Rapids. And it's a privilege.
So what else do you have coming up? Anything coming up? And how do people learn more and or get involved?
So I always ask, we've always got stuff coming up. We've got a business luncheon for business people, so they come in and learn a little bit about what's happening in the mission. It's on meltrotter.org. We've got, we just opened our thrift store yesterday. That was very exciting for us. After Christmas, we're trying to make sure everybody's in here. We have a lot of code blues, meaning that when the weather gets very cold, we do outreach and bring people in because otherwise they'll freeze to death. But going to your second part of the question, I always encourage people to do something. So I think people get overwhelmed by it, or they get sick of people asking them for $1 on the street. And I'm like, but you can do something. So you know what? Maybe you don't know what to do. Please pray for us. Please pray for our guests. Please pray for our staff. Please pray. Just pray. I think that's the first thing and the most important thing people can do. Volunteer opportunities. We've got a ton of them. I mean, we've got the dining room. We've got thrift stores. They go on meltrotter.org. We've got a whole list of volunteer opportunities. Do something with your hands and feet. Donations. We need donations to keep us going. And people may say, well, I don't want to fund Mel Trotter. I don't want to do this. There's lots of other great organizations too. We partner with Dégagé Ministries. We partner with Family Promise. We partner with so many different organizations. Donate. So I would say use your time, talent, and treasure to impact people's lives. And there's so many ways to do that.
In good, clear, productive ways to help. You're not just, people want to know that what they're doing has the right impact, and clearly you're doing everything you can to make every effort and every donation as productive as possible.
Oh, absolutely. Come on down. Check us out. We'd love to show you.
Love it. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.